Hey bag ladies and bag dudes, today I'm going to be talking about color cards, the Clyde Bank tote, Harry Potter fabrics, the So Sweetness Easter gift exchange, also the So Sweetness Pinterest boards. The book review will be for a book called Hopeful Hatchlings. I'll be demonstrating different types of linings and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from So Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Social Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everyone, happy Sunday or Monday afternoon, depending on what part of the world that you live in. Thank you so much for joining me for Social Sunday. Danny and I, well actually Danny to give him full credit because he likes that, but we noticed this comment coming in from Renee before the show started. Hey, you took it away too fast. So a little backstory on Renee. Renee and his wife Melissa both watch the show, but they usually each watch from their own separate accounts. And when Renee's wife Melissa signed on, he mentioned, oh, here comes the old thread and bobbins, like ball and chain. So we thought that was pretty funny. Sheila is watching from Texas. Thanks so much for joining us, Sheila. And Patty's also watching from Michigan. So welcome. I have some fun things to share with you tonight. I also wanted to let you know, thank you for letting me giving me some suggestions the last few weeks, both in the Facebook group and if you've emailed me personally, suggestions in regards to notions and demonstrations that I can share with you on future Social Sunday shows. I went through this past week and filled my notebook. I have notebook pages for each date for Social Sunday, and I have actually a couple months out into the future. I've added ideas for different notions and demonstrations that I can share with you. So thanks so much for doing that. Keep it up. I always love finding about new tools and things. So thank you so much for your helpful suggestions. Also, right before the show, I posted a post in the Facebook group. If you're over on Facebook, I wanted to know what the bag dudes thought, because I saw right before the show for sure a few of the bag dudes were watching. I wanted to know what the bag dudes had on their wish list for a particular bag or accessory they would like to see as a pattern. So zeroing it in on you guys, let me know if there's certain features or things that you would like to see in a pattern. Hoping I can get you something kind of designed just for you. Hopefully you can visit the Facebook group sometime during the week and let me know in the comments to my post what kind of patterns that you're looking for. So before we get over to the notion of the week, I also wanted to let you know that I posted the March Minikins Challenge, and the Minikins Challenge for the month of March is for the gloss cosmetic bag, and this is part of Minikins Season 2. So if you're new around here, in 2018, every month of the year, I had a different Minikins Challenge. We had $100 gift certificates each month for a randomly drawn winner that had completed that particular month's challenge. In 2019, we're doing all the patterns from Minikins Season 2. So the month of March is the gloss cosmetic bag. Even if you made already the gloss cosmetic bag, say if you made it in November, you're welcome to post a photo of your completed gloss cosmetic bag, or hopefully this will get you your challenge for something to sew sometime during the month of March. Just check that link in the description. I have a link to the blog post where you can post your photo. And at the end of the month of March, I'll be doing a random drawing out of everyone who's entered a photo, and one lucky person will win a $100 gift certificate to my shop. So get those sewing machines going. I thought this one would be a great one just because it's great for both toiletries or sewing supplies if you prefer to do that. I know I saw a lot of people had already been traveling to retreats and things like that, and I thought it would be fun to have something really cute and handmade to take your toiletries or your sewing supplies on the go. So again, that's linked to in the description if you're interested in participating in the March Minikins Challenge. The notion of the week, before I get over to the notion of the week, I always like to remind you that just about everything that I've purchased during Social Sunday, just about everything that I talk about during Social Sunday are things that I've purchased myself. So these are not freebies that I get or sponsorships from companies that want me to talk about their products, but these are just cool things that I've honestly found that I'd like to share with you. I've linked to everything that I'm scheduled to talk about in the description, so if you're interested in finding out more about any of the fabrics, notions, projects, or books that I talk about during Social Sunday, just check that link in the description. You can find out more information there. Danny posted this question from Debbie. Debbie wants to know, is it a random draw from challenge participants, or is it based on the success of the bag? It's a totally random drawing. What I do is all of the participants that post a photo, they're assigned a number based on when they post their photo. So 1 through however many. I think for the month of February there were, I believe, around 85 participants. So 1 through 85, I use a random number generator, which is random.org, and all I do is put in the total number of entrants, which if I'm correct and it was 85, I put in the number 85, I click a button and it chooses a random number for me. So I believe the random winner for February was number 48. So I go into my website, find who number 48 was, look at their name and email address, contact them, and they're the winner. So it's totally random. As Debbie was asking, it doesn't matter how successful, or I feel like everyone who finishes the project is successful. So let's just state that clearly right there, but it's clearly just a totally randomly drawn number. Hopefully that helps. All right, so my notion of the week this week is kind of not a notion, but something that I was sort of struggling with this past week, and that is color cards. So I'm going to jump over to the side camera and explain more about what a color card is if you're not familiar. Okay, so here's where the issue started. So I had this particular fabric in my stash, and I needed more than what I had for a project that I was working on, but as you can see, this particular piece was not labeled. I'm sure I've had it for a few years, but I wanted to get more of it, but I didn't know what color it was. Here's the piece of fabric that I ended up purchasing because I needed a yard, and that's what I got. As you can see, this particular one's labeled. I purchased this from stashfabrics.com in the past week in order to supplement the fabric that I needed. And here's how I figured out what I needed to order. So that particular fabric was a Kona solid. I have a Kona color card right here, and a color card, if you're not familiar, is a printout, kind of a printout with little fabric swatches of all of the fabric numbers for, this is a Kona color card, so these are all of the fabric that are made under the Kona name, with a little piece of the actual fabric and the number and the name of the fabric. So I can easily go online and get more depending on what fabric that I needed. I was also looking for other colors, and so in the past week and a half I purchased a few additional color cards. So Kona is not the only manufacturer that makes solids, and so especially with solid quilting cottons, color cards are very helpful. Again, these are little swatches of the fabric with the name of the fabric, and this is the manufacturer. This is Michael Miller. And I purchased a couple others that were new to me, but I wanted to have in my stash because I found that the color assortment was different depending on manufacturer. So this particular fabric, for instance, might not be represented in the Kona color card, but I wanted to have information on other solids that I could order depending on what I wanted or was looking for in a project. So the one that I purchased in the past week, this one was a little hard to find, but I was super glad that I found one. You may have seen lately I've been using a lot of Moda Grunge fabrics in my linings, and if you're not familiar with Moda Grunge, let me open one up so I can share with you. Let me find one that's super apparent. So maybe you can see from this one, the Moda Grunge is basically a base color with like a grungy looking texture, usually 2 or 3 different colors overlaid on top of the base color. So I picked this one up. Again, this is also known as a color card. It comes in a little bound book, I guess you could call it. But same as with the other color cards that I just showed you, it has the name of the color on the back of the little swatch. So again, I find color cards really helpful. There's areas for notes as well. I can write down on the back what particular projects or fabrics that I matched these with. And I find that it's helpful to use solids for projects unless I've already purchased a coordinating lining fabric, just because then I don't have to make a special purchase just because I'm constantly buying fabric and space is becoming rather an issue in the sewing room. So if whenever possible, I like to use whatever I already have instead of going out and buying new stuff. And I don't always purchase coordinating lining fabric, so that's where these color cards come in handy. I placed a link in the description for Fat Quarter Shop because I found that they had the largest selection out of color cards that I've seen on the internet, but obviously you can find color cards perhaps at your local quilt shop or in other places as well. All right, so our very first book club discussion is next Tuesday, which is March 12th. I finished up the first free project for book club. It'll be a free pattern and a free video. We're planning on filming the video this Wednesday, and I know I promised I was not going to give any sneak peeks or show the project until the discussion on March 12th, but I finished the bag and I was kind of proud of it, and so I figured I'll just give you a little sneak peek. Like maybe if I show you like half of the bag, that'll be kind of not breaking my promise and showing the project early. So I'm just gonna, I have it over here, I'm just gonna slide it on the camera really slowly just so you can see part of it. So this is the Clyde Bank tote. It's going to be in 2 different sizes. I'm not going to show you the whole project, but I'll tip it down so you can kind of see the lining. So there's a zipper, so you can see that. Anyway, that's all I'm going to show you, but tune in to the live show next Tuesday, which is March 12th. It'll be in our usual time slot, 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll be discussing the very first book, which was The Sewing Machine by Natalie Fergie. I'm super excited. I got a lot of emails from people who had finished the book and were really pleased and happy, and they thought it was an amazing book. I did too. Excited to talk about it. And then after the show on March 12th, we'll be debuting the free pattern and video for the Clyde Bank tote. So fun new project for you to make. It actually doesn't require any hardware, just a few zippers and your exterior and lining fabric. So that's the Clyde Bank tote. Danny says, Linda is asking, what is the price range of these color cards? So that's a great question. It depends on the color card. So the range, I think the Riley Blake, I linked to in the, yeah, Danny's also asking, where do you get them? I linked to in the description, a link to Fat Quarter Shop, to the color cards they carry over there. If you're looking for a particular one, you might need to go on Etsy or elsewhere to find it. And they range in price. I think the cheapest color card I found was around $12 or $15. And again, it just depends on the particular color card. I feel like Kona is the most popular, but everyone has their personal preference, and lots of companies make solids. Art Gallery does. I didn't show you my Art Gallery color card, but I have one of those as well. I also have, I showed the Michael Miller one. Who else makes solids? American Made makes solids, so tons of companies make solids, and other options for color cards are out there besides what I showed. All right, so Danny's favorite part of the Sunday show, we'd like to invite all of the bag ladies and bag dudes to be proud. Let us know in the comments. Go ahead and type bag lady or bag dude right now in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And I actually had an email a couple days ago about how to leave comments, and I know lots of you, based on your chatter before the show, already know how to do this, but if you're not familiar with how to leave a comment, all you need to do, depending on where you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll need to sign into your YouTube account. If you're watching on Facebook, you'll need to sign into your Facebook account first. Then you'll be able to comment depending on your device or computer. Most of the time, the comment area, your comment box, will be near the bottom of your cell phone screen. What else was I going to say about that? Sorry. So you'll want to make sure that you're logged in. Then you'll be able to type a comment. If you're casting to your TV, might want to just pull out your cell phone or tablet, and then you can sign in and comment there. So really quick and easy, that's how you comment. And it's free to sign up for a YouTube or a Facebook account if you don't already have one. All right, some new fabrics that I added into my stash this week. They just came in the mail. They were actually custom fabrics that I pre-ordered a couple months ago, but I wanted to share them with you because I thought they were really cool. I'm going to jump back over to the side camera and show them to you. So you might know that I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and so I pre-ordered these Harry Potter fabrics from Backstitch Fabrics. So Backstitch Fabrics is a custom fabric group on Facebook. I linked to it in the description, and they create both knit fabrics, wovens, and minkies. So most of these are woven fabrics. They have really nice soft woven fabrics. So these are all of the houses from the Harry Potter novels. And I also purchased the same print in a minky. I'm not sure what I'll make with this, probably a backing to a blanket or a quilt. And then here's the rest of the fabrics that I purchased. So these are snacks at the Harry Potter section of Universal Studios. So they have tons of Harry Potter rides. Here's some of the snacks: butterbeer, the chocolate frogs. Here's another Harry Potter themed fabric with potions on it. And then I also purchased a few, I thought these would be cool for Zeppelin pouches, but these are sort of panel prints or panels for shirts with themes from the movies. Thought this one was cute too. Alas Earwax. And here's another, I guess, kind of a panel print that I purchased. So these are, I guess, magazine covers from the Harry Potter books and movies. And here's a few more that I got. So here's some little cartoon Harry Potter characters. Here's the newspapers, printout text type of fabric from Harry Potter, and these are Harry Potter characters as jelly beans. So I thought these were too adorable to pass up, and I'm sure they'd be great for lots of little pouches and things like that. Like the Zeppelin, for some reason, like when I saw those fabrics, I just thought Zeppelin pouch, because I really enjoy making that one, and I feel like it's a nice big canvas for a small project for that type of fabric. So I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments, even if you have not read or seen the Harry Potter movies. This is about books and movies in general, but I was curious, for books or movies, which do you like better? So for example, if a book is written and then a movie comes out later, do you generally find that you enjoy the book more or the movie more? So in most cases, I feel like I enjoy the books more than the movies. I try to read the books before the movies come out. I feel like the books give a lot more backstory and a lot more illustrative details in my mind that I can use to think about the characters. I have a couple exceptions. There's this movie that I enjoy. It's sort of a romantic comedy, I guess. It's called Love, Rosie. I way enjoyed the movie a lot more than the book, but in most cases I do like the books better than the movies. So I have a couple things to remind you about. The last day to sign up for the Easter gift exchange is upon us. So if you are interested in participating in a So Sweetness swap to swap a So Sweetness pouch or accessory that you've made with someone else, and this is a secret gift exchange, so you don't find out who your partner is until after you've received your gift. If you'd like to participate in that or want to find out more information on that, the link is in our Facebook group, and I've linked to that link in the description, so you can click on that to find out more information. And also, we've been adding Pinterest boards with lots of information, especially from the Sewcial Sunday shows. So if you use Pinterest, or if you'd like to find out what Pinterest is, if you'd like to sign up for a free account, the link to my So Sweetness main board is in the description. And I have, I think, almost 100 different boards with different topics, like, for instance, quilts I heart, my favorite quilt pictures or patterns that I found from the internet, my So Sweetness tutorials, there's a board for that. And there's 3 recent boards that we've been filling with the projects and the books that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday. So I know we've been doing Sewcial Sunday for almost 2 years now, hard to believe, but as you can imagine, I've talked about a lot of books, notions, and fabrics in those almost 2 years. It's easy to forget. You know, Sarah was talking about that book about the stuffed animals the one time. What was that book called? You can find all that information in the So Sweetness Sewcial Sunday board. So there's 3 separate Sewcial Sunday boards, one for notions, one for books, and one for fabrics. So I'd like to invite you to follow my So Sweetness main board as well as those 3 individual boards, and that'll keep you updated and not having to try to figure out what that stuffed animal book is or what have you. So again, that's linked to in the description. I have a follow-up question for you regarding that area of discussion. Do you save pictures or ideas, like an inspiration board perhaps in your sewing room, or do you have a folder where you keep ideas or sketches? Let me know in the comments the answer to that question. So I enjoy, even in this digital age, I enjoy getting magazines. I tear out pages if I see a really interesting dress or bag or shoes or whatever, and I save it. I have a folder in my sewing room. I save those magazine cuttings in there. I know some people have, for instance, cork boards where they tack inspiration pictures or magazine clippings or what have you. Pinterest is a great digital way to save inspiration as well, having just talked about the Pinterest boards. So let me know your answer in the comments. I'm curious to see how people are saving ideas for future projects that they want to work on. So my book review for this week is a book that I thought was really adorable, especially with Easter coming up next month. The book is called Hopeful Hatchlings, and I'm going to pop over to the side camera and show you it. Okay, so this is the book. It's called Hopeful Hatchlings. It's written by Jessica George, and it's, as you can see from the cover, it's 10 stuffed animal sewing projects to make, and they come along with these cute little egg cups with zippers to store your stuffed animals in. So really adorable, not only for Easter, but for any time of year. And this is a really slim book. It's only 39 pages long, but the projects are, I feel, very concise, and all of the templates are included in the back of the book. So let me share with you this book. All the basics are included in the beginning, including sewing on the eyes, suggested materials to use, and skill level for all the patterns. So that's all listed on the inner cover. And then all the projects, it's pretty straightforward, just the project with the instructions. So the first project is the zipper eggs, and you can use these in combination with any of the stuffed animals in the book. And it's just, I know almost everyone is familiar with sewing with zippers already. Let me flip to the first stuffed animal now. So the first one is called Toby the Turtle. He's super adorable. I feel like all of these projects look relatively easy, and of course, who wouldn't want to get a personalized little egg with a little stuffed animal in it? So I like the pattern and prints on this Easter egg. The chick is obviously a standard Easter character, although the owl is really cute too. All right, so another feathered friend being the penguin. And here's a baby bird. This one kind of looks more of a ball shape with wings, so this one seems super easy as well. And then here's some dinos with little movable button legs. I think that's adorable. All right, Dalton the dragon, which I really want to make this one. That's probably the first one that I'm going to make from the book. This is Penny the platypus. And a fried egg, of course, going inside the zippered egg. And then all of the templates are in the back of the book. So again, those are all the projects. You can see them all again on the cover. And the book is called Hopeful Hatchlings, and it's 10 baby animals in addition to that little zippered egg that you can see on the cover as well. Okay, so on one of the recent live shows, somebody asked a question. I thought it was a really great question. But their question was how to understand the different types of linings. I know sometimes I tend to throw around terms, or you might see it in the Facebook group, different types of linings. So for instance, a drop-in lining, a bound lining, or a bias tape binding, or a birthed lining. What's the difference between those different types of linings? So while I don't have normally tons of partially finished bags in the sewing room, I pulled a few finished bags from my stash, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about what those different types of linings mean. So we're going to start with the first one, which is, I feel like, the easiest type of lining to sew, and that is a birth bag. I'm sure there's another term for it, but I feel like that's the easiest way to explain it. And by birthed bag, I mean sewing the bag together, right sides together, and pulling the bag right side out through the opening in the lining, and then usually top stitching the bag, and you're finished. So the common types of bags that you would see in a birthed lining, I pulled this satellite bag out. Most bags with flaps, like the satellite bag, are sewn in this way. So you would, in essence, assemble the exterior. Usually the flap is sewn to the exterior, and then you would sew the lining separately. When going to finish the bag, usually I like to turn my exterior right side facing out, leave my lining wrong side facing out, and then sort of push the lining over the exterior so that the exterior sits inside, and then you basically sew the top edge of the bag right sides together and then turn. Another type of bag with using the birth method would be bags without a flap, such as the Baker Street bag. Other types of bags can be sewn using the birth method. I'll mention it again near the end of the demonstration, but for now, bags with flaps or bags with a top opening are the two most common types of bags that would be sewn using the birthing method. All right, the next method that I wanted to talk about is drop-in lining. So I don't do a ton of drop-in linings, but I do like to pull out a drop-in lining on occasion just so we can get practice with working with different techniques. So I've got this Renegade bag, which you usually see behind me on the shelf. The Renegade bag instructions are sewn using a drop-in lining. So what does that mean? When making a bag using a drop-in lining method, you usually assemble the whole exterior of the bag first. So you would wind up with something that looks pretty much like my finished bag. Then you would also sew the lining. Obviously the lining would not have the zipper since the zipper would be sewn to the exterior. The reason that it's called a drop-in lining is when your exterior and lining are both finished but separate, you drop that lining inside and usually sew it to the zipper to finish the bag. So another project that I have designed using a drop-in lining method is this sidewinder pouch. So again, the whole exterior of the sidewinder is sewn together and attached to the zipper. You sew the lining separately, and then when you have both of those finished, the lining just gets dropped in and sewn to the zipper, and then your project is finished. Okay, so another method of finishing a bag as far as a lining is a bound lining or a bag finished with bias binding. So I pulled out my old trusty Cumberland backpack, and I'm gonna turn this one actually so that the lining side's facing out, because my lining is finished with bias binding or a bound binding. The nice thing about this particular pattern, the Cumberland backpack, is I give, I think, 3 different methods for finishing in the pattern instructions. So bias binding, the birth method, or sewing the bag right sides together and then turning. And then what was my other method? I know there was one more, it's escaping me right now, but here, as you can see, there's my binding. So when executing this particular finishing method, you'll be sewing your exterior pieces at the end of your exterior and your lining pieces. At the end of construction, you'll have usually 3 main portions. So the back of the bag, which is you'll have an exterior and the lining for the back of the backpack. Here's the front of the backpack. You'll have an exterior and the lining for the front of the backpack, and then also this side panel right here. So you'll have 3 main sections. You'll go ahead and sew each of those sections wrong sides together, which is a little bit different than we normally do. So you'll take the front of the backpack pieces, the front, the exterior and the lining, sew them wrong sides together, and same with the side panel and the back of the backpack. So you'll have 3 sections, which you'll then sew exterior fabric to exterior fabric, which will leave you raw edges in your lining. So normally we don't want any raw edges showing, so that's why the raw edges are covered with the binding. But again, as I mentioned, the Cumberland backpack has a few different finishing methods, including sewing right sides together, which is the birthing method that I talked about at the beginning with that satellite bag. So in theory, a lot of bags can be sewn using multiple methods, as I mentioned with the Cumberland backpack. I don't normally try to trot out 2 or 3 different finishing methods in every pattern, just because it makes things more lengthy, more complicated, and certain things in construction need to go in different orders depending on what method you're using. So I normally, in a pattern, I normally pick one and just go with it. But with the Cumberland, like I mentioned, and I think I might have done it with 1 or 2 other additional patterns, I offer you a few different options. But as I mentioned, as you get more experience with bag making, you can generally go with your favorite method. For instance, I know a lot of people like drop-in linings. Certainly lots of patterns can be adapted and changed up a little bit if you prefer to construct a bag using a drop-in lining or what have you. So hopefully that makes sense. A little bit further explanation of different types of linings. Those are certainly the 3 most common. All right, so I'd like to invite you now, if you enjoy our live videos, if you enjoy my bag making videos and sewing tutorial videos, if you're watching on Facebook, I'd like to invite you now to go ahead and hit the share button, share this sewing video with your other sewing friends on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, I hope you will consider subscribing so that you can be notified of our future live shows and other videos that we post to the YouTube channel. Regardless, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we sure do appreciate the likes, which is the little graphic of the thumbs up. The likes help us out so much. Thank you so much for doing that, and thank you so much for watching Sewcial Sunday. We're so happy that you're here. All right, so I have a giveaway and a giveaway winner to notify you about. I'm also going to be answering some questions live in just a second. So if you have any questions for me, go ahead and type your question in the comments, either on Facebook or YouTube. I always try to answer as many questions as I can. Unfortunately, as our viewership has increased, unfortunately we're not able to get to everyone's question live. I wish we could, but I answer as many questions as I can, and I also answer questions on the Tuesday show. So go ahead and type your question in the comments right now if you have a question for me. I also wanted to announce the winner of last week's giveaway. Last week's giveaway winner was Roxy2. I hope I pronounced that last name correctly, T-E-W. So congratulations to Roxy. Last week's prize was a really great one, a huge stack of sewing and quilting books. So congratulations to Roxy. And Lorraine says, Sarah, how much fabric for the Clydebank bag, please? I don't have the fabric requirements in front of me. I believe for the exterior of the bag it was 1 yard. I believe the lining was 1.5 yards if you were making the large size, or if you're fussy cutting the small. Although if you're not fussy cutting for the small, the lining, you can get away with 1 yard, I believe. And I also used a fat quarter for those side panels, which I know I didn't show the whole entire bag, but the sides of the bag, I chose a different fabric to kind of either blend in with the main fabric or stand out. So when I show you my large bag, I think you'll understand about stand out, because my large bag I made using a print for the front and back, and then a really different print for the sides so that the sides would stand out. Dawn says, would you suggest that the lining for drop-in lining sewn a little smaller? So sometimes it depends on the fabric, but a good tip for any lining is if you complete your lining and you feel that it's a little too baggy or little bigger than you would like to see your lining look, you can always gradually increase your lining seam allowance. So what that means is I usually like to start the seam allowance as the same seam allowance as the exterior. So for instance, if the seam allowance was 1/4 of an inch for the exterior, for the lining you can start sewing the seam at 1/4 of an inch and then sort of taper into a bigger seam allowance. So I suggest starting out at 1/2 inch. When you reach the other end of the bag or the bottom of the bag, taper back down to that 1/4 of an inch. So tapering into that larger seam allowance kind of makes the lining a little bit smaller and sometimes helps it fit a little bit better inside the exterior of your bag. And Lizette says, do you have a tutorial for the satellite bag? It's not a free video, but we do have a for purchase video available for this particular pattern, but this was the satellite bag, and there is a video for this one. We did a video for this one I think last fall, but a video is available for that particular pattern. Manuela says, is the zebra pouch with drop-in lining in the Minikins or separate? Oh, that's a good question. This one is from Minikin season 1, and this is the Sidewinder pouch, and this particular one was available in 3 different sizes, and this is the largest of the 3 sizes. Hope says, what fabric glue do you use? Let me grab that for you. William is really into Rubik's Cubes lately. He has, I think, almost 10 different types of Rubik's Cubes in different shapes and numbers of tiles, and one of his tiles was coming loose today, so I said, he asked me for glue, and I said, well, the only glue I have is fabric glue. I'm not sure if that'll work, but I gave him this. It seemed to work okay, but it's Beacon 3-in-1. Beacon also makes fabric tack. I really like this because it's a little bit thicker of a glue and not so runny, which is especially helpful for if you're using it for twist locks or metal frames where you don't want that glue running down your fabric. So it's a little bit thicker, which I like. Lisa says, what was the name of the tool you used for the snaps? I think I might have it right here. Yes. So this is for purl snaps, and this tool is called the snap setter, and you're going to need a hammer. Hammer is pretty much the recommended device for installing the purl snaps. And this particular tool comes in 3 different pieces. So really easy to use and put together. I actually have a video on how to use this on my YouTube channel in case you're curious about that. The tool comes with a few snaps, and you can also purchase snaps separately, and I sell the snap setter tool on my website. If you just check the Notion section of the website, and there's also a really cool snap setter hammer with different screws in the handles that's pretty nifty. Next question is, do you have a ship date for Pinkerville? So unfortunately they always give us just an estimate, so the shipping estimate was March. I'm not sure if that means end of March, middle of March. I'm hoping it'll be really soon because I'm looking forward to getting that Pinkerville fabric. And this is the main print from Pinkerville. It's designed by Tula Pink, and it's this particular fabric line features the unicorn, which I'm excited to get lots of yardage and make all the things with the unicorns. Marguerite says, where can I get that t-shirt? This gift was, this t-shirt was a birthday gift from Bronwyn. I know she said in the past in the Facebook group where she got the shirt from. It's a Star Trek themed sewing shirt. Bronwyn, if you're watching, if you wouldn't mind popping up on in the comments where you got the shirt from. Marguerite wants to know.
A lot of people want to know.
Oh, Danny says a lot of people want to know. Come on, Bronwyn, come through for us. Stacy says, why would marine vinyl not be recommended for the Sublime bag? That's a great question. Where's my Sublime back here? I think if you're super comfortable with your machine, work with marine vinyl all the time, and feel confident about using it for this particular bag, I think it would be fine. I just felt that all the aspects of the bag with the accents and the handles and the sides of the bag, I feel like marine vinyl would be thick for the average sewing machine. But again, if you're using an industrial machine, or if you've used marine vinyl lots of times before, I think it's certainly doable. I just didn't want anyone to have a tough time sewing or have not a fail, but that's why I put that recommendation in the pattern. Barbara says, do you have a notions kit for the gloss cosmetic bag? So I don't have a separate notions kit for just that project, but we do have notions kits for Minikin Season 1 and Minikin Season 2, two separate kits, but those are available in the shop, and they contain all of the notions, like mesh, purse hardware, buckles, things like that, needed to make one of each project in that particular season of the Minikin. So if you're interested in that, those are in, are they in the notions? In the shop, we have a separate heading for supply kits, and it would be in the supply kit section. Roxy says, how do I give you my address? Yes, Roxy won the giveaway. Roxy, please email me, and my email is sarah@sewsweetness.com, Sarah with no H. I also commented on your giveaway answer on, I think it was YouTube, so my email is also posted in my comment over there on YouTube. Patricia says, do you always interface your linings? So I usually do, just because I usually work with quilting cottons and I like the interfacing, which I usually use pollen shape flex for my lining fabrics. The interfacing just gives the lining fabric a little bit of extra stability, and words are escaping me tonight. If you're using a little bit thicker of a fabric for your lining, maybe you're using a decorator weight fabric, or I came across this solid recently that was a little bit thicker than quilting cotton. It was called Sonoma solids. You can find those at Fat Quarter Shop. So if you're using something like that that's a little bit thicker than quilting cotton, you can feel free to skip the shape flex, but generally I'm using quilting cotton, so I usually use pollen shape flex for my lining fabrics. And Sandy has, this is a good question, when will the foam inserts be available for the DAB essential oil bag? So we ran out of the foam inserts almost a week ago, a few days ago. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago I ordered more of the inserts, so we should have some more any day now. I think I ordered several hundred more to come in, so they should be in soon. We do have an out of stock notification on the website, so if there's any fabric or notion that you're looking for but it's out of stock currently, you can always go to that particular product listing and enter your email address in the product listing. There's a little box, notify me when it's back in stock, and then you'll automatically be notified as soon as I enter that particular product back in stock. Lillian says, Sarah, are the templates for the Aragon bag coming out? Yes, we should have those either end of this week or early the following week, and we'll also have the acrylic templates for the Park Sling backpack. Danny's busy looking for questions. I'm sewing the Sloan bag and adding piping to the side, but the seam doesn't go as close as I want. Just realized that I forgot to switch to the zipper foot. So that happens to me sometimes too when I'm adding piping to a bag, and I kind of check things out as I finish sewing the piping on. you can always get a little bit of a tighter seam allowance, especially with the thick layers with the lining. You might not necessarily need to use your zipper foot, just sew a slightly tighter seam allowance wherever those areas that you find that the piping doesn't look as tight as you want it to look. Donna says there's also a birthing method that goes through the lining of an inside zipper pocket. Oh, great point. Actually, that Clydebank tote that I kind of showed you part of, that's how that particular bag is finished. Everything's turned right side out through the zipper pocket, and I think that's done with the satellite bag as well, if my memory serves me correctly. Gwenna says, what is the name of the fabric that you used on the book club bag? So this is a bark cloth fabric, and the fabric line is called Outback Wife. It came out, actually it came out as 2 fabric lines, both under the Outback Wife fabric line name. They've been out for a few years now, so not necessarily widely available. I see Stash Fabrics online, and that stashfabrics.com has some in stock still, and there's also a bunch on Etsy. Lejeune says, do you wash your spoonflower fabrics before sewing your projects? That's a great question. Spoonflower fabrics are digitally printed, and the hand is definitely nicer if you wash the fabric first before sewing it into your project. So normally I just go ahead and sew my quilting cottons into the project just because I'm comfortable with past experience knowing that the shrinkage is minimal. However, for spoonflower fabrics, because those are custom printed fabrics, I feel like the fabric looks and feels nicer if you pre-wash it first. And Brooke says, I got that shirt at Amazon. Okay, it's good to know. I'm not sure what you would put in the search for this particular shirt, but maybe Star Trek Make It So, Danny's suggesting. Sounds perfectly reasonable to me. Lottie wants to know, I want to install a grommet. I have a grommet setter, but how do I cut the hole with scissors afterward? Probably depends on, I'm assuming your grommets came with some kind of manufacturer instructions. I use a tabletop press for my grommets. So these are grommets that I use for the yarn minder bag, which are 1/2 inch measured to the inside of the grommets. And again, grommets come in different sizes. But when I made the yarn minder bag, I used this grommet to place on my fabric. I used my pen to trace a hole on just the inside of the grommet, and I cut that fabric out just using my seam ripper and scissors. I use the seam ripper to get a little opening started, and then the scissors the rest of the way. If you have, say, a die or a metal, what are they called? Not cookie cutters. Again, the name's escaping me. Anyway, if you have something like that, a device to make the holes for you, of course that'll be easy, but otherwise you can just use your seam ripper and scissors to make the hole, and then you just place this grommet before you put it in your either handheld press or tabletop press. Sarah, can you please open the gloss bag? Sure, I can do that. Let me move my water out of the way so I don't have some spillage. Oh, Bronwyn says the t-shirt is from Tea Republic, or Tea Republic, can't quite remember the name, from Bronwyn the Giver. Thank you, Bronwyn. All right, so the Gloss Cosmetic bag, I'm trying to hold this at an angle where it's not blurry. So there's a mesh zipper pocket up here. There's also a clear vinyl zipper pocket, or you could substitute this if you'd rather have both of them be mesh. On the inside, so I've got some sewing related tools in here. Oh, I was looking for this. Thought I lost it. Okay. All right, on the inside, there's a mesh pocket in the back, and there's also a mesh pocket in front, and there's a false bottom in this particular bag. So as you notice, I pulled a lot of heavy bottles, which were full of liquids, from the inside of the case, and the false bottom is just a removable bottom that can take on a lot of weight without distorting the look of your finished bag. So let me zip it up and show you what I mean. So without the false bottom, or without some firm interfacing in the bottom of this project, as I'm lifting it, because there's heavy things inside, the bottom would be bowing down. But because there's a false bottom, as you can see, it still looks just the same as it would as if it were empty. So that's the inside of the gloss. No pockets on the bottom, but there's plenty of pockets on the inside, and then the handle on the top. All right, Danny's calling that in on the questions. Apologize if I did not get to your question live, but as I mentioned, lots more questions answered on our Tuesday shows, which is called Ask Sarah. I have a giveaway for you, and I was having trouble deciding what the giveaway prize should be. So last minute, Charlie, right before the show, Danny and I agreed that a $50 gift certificate to SewSweetness.com would be a suitable giveaway prize. So all you have to do to enter the giveaway, I will choose one randomly drawn winner at the end of the day this Saturday, and I'll announce the winner on next Sunday's show. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is comment on either Facebook or YouTube directly on this video the answer to my question, which is, how often do you organize your sewing area? So go ahead and type that in the comments right now. I feel like I'm constantly moving things into the living room and back into the sewing room depending on what day of the week it is, aka is it Sunday and do we have a show and do I need to clear off my desk, which right here, this is my sewing area normally. So that's my answer. At least once a week I'm straightening things up, which is incredibly annoying. I'd rather do it far less often. But let me know the answer to that question as it applies to you. Good luck everyone in the giveaway, and again, thank you so much for watching Sewcial Sunday. We're always so excited that so many of you tune in, especially so early on before the show, and chat with each other. Really enjoy seeing the chatter. So thank you for joining me for Sewcial Sunday. I'll see you again next Sunday. Have a great week and happy sewing. Bye everybody.